Welcome back to Up Front and our extended interview with the House Speaker, Paul Ryan. Speaker Ryan, let's talk about the A Better Way agenda that you and Republicans have been laying out here over the last few weeks. On Friday, you talked about tax reform. Lower rates, corporate rates, lower rates for individuals, simpler, fairer, flatter, I think is the way you described it. I'm wondering if that's something that you think that the presumptive nominee, Donald Trump, would embrace. Are you on the same page, do you think, on tax reform?
We are. I've talked to him a bit about it. I think we are on the same page. He's familiar with what we're putting out. I believe he's put out a very supportive statement on it. Here's what we're trying to do. I've been working on this issue for years. The IRS is out of control. The tax code is too complicated, and it's holding us back as families, as small businesses, as a country. Johnson Controls is moving overseas. Miller's already gone. You know, we're seeing American businesses move overseas in part because of our tax laws. This is a solution. Number one, families will be able to fill out their tax form on a postcard, so we dramatically simplify the tax code, dramatically streamline and overhaul the IRS, lower tax rates, let people keep more of their own money, decide what they want to do, and get our tax rates on our businesses down, and let businesses who make money overseas bring that money back home, so that America has the best tax code, the most attractive business tax code in the world, so that we keep American companies in America, and we let businesses write off their investment in their plant and their equipment and their people, so that they hire more. Buy more machines, build more buildings, hire more workers. The tax code should encourage these things. It doesn't. It discourages these things. So I really believe one of the critical things we need for faster economic growth, more take-home pay, and higher wage growth is comprehensive tax reform. This is the sixth plank of our agenda that we've laid out. 6 things we've said. How do you get people out of poverty, move people from welfare to work? We've got to do a better job fighting poverty. What do you do to keep the country safe for national security? How do you fix the regulatory state, which is killing businesses? How do you restore the Constitution's self-government? What do you replace Obamacare with? How do you have patient-centered health care? Get these health care premiums down. Protect people with pre-existing conditions. Gut and overhaul the tax code. Get us a pro-growth tax code for jobs, for economic growth. This is the agenda we're taking to the country. You can go to better.gop to find out about it.
And you think the likely nominee, Donald Trump, embraces most of what
Yes, I do. I've spoken to him specifically about it, and our staff has walked them through. It's one of the reasons why I said I would vote for him, because I know the likelihood of our agenda going into law is far greater under a Republican Trump presidency than a Hillary Clinton presidency. She wants to go the other way on taxes, and the problem is we're losing our businesses. Look, the Canadians just over Lake Superior, over the shore in Lake Superior, they tax their businesses at 15%. 9 out of 10 Wisconsin businesses file their taxes as individuals. The top effective rate on individuals is 44.6%. The Canadians are 15, and our successful small businesses are almost 45. You can't compete like that. Companies like Harley are at 35. The average tax rate for companies like Harley, corporations, is 25%. So we bring the corporate rate to 20. We bring that small business rate down to 25, and they're taxed only once. And we bring families down, and we have a very simplified form that fits on a postcard.
A couple of questions about the convention. You're going to be chairing the National Convention next month. You are going to be chairing it. There's no reason to think that you're not going to be chairing it.
As far as I know, that's right.
As far as you know, does Donald Trump want you to continue?
He did ask me to do it, yes.
He did, so you are going to chair that. There are these rumblings out there in your party about some last-minute move that could attempt to deny Donald Trump the nomination. Do you think that's going to happen, and would it be a mistake if it did happen?
I just don't know the answer to the question. The reason I am just the referee, so I don't tell delegates what they should or should not do. They set the rules the week before and of the convention, and the delegates themselves are the ones who set that. So as chair of the convention, I open it, I make sure they follow the rules, and then the delegates make their decisions.
Both you and Governor Walker said the delegates should vote their conscience.
Well, I said members of Congress should.
Members of Congress.
Yeah, I didn't say delegates.
Okay.
I said members of Congress should act on their conscience with their endorsement or not. Reed Ribble, as you know, is not endorsing Donald Trump. Reed Ribble is making a conscience decision. The last thing I'm going to do is ask Reed to go against his conscience with his endorsement. I feel I have an obligation to my party, but also as the highest Republican official in the country. The last thing I want to do is drive a wedge in the middle of my party, disrespect the voters of millions of people who selected him as their nominee, and deny us the ability to have a unified party going into the election. And therefore, all but assure Hillary Clinton becomes president. That is not something I'm interested in helping do.
Quick question. Do you have any concerns about his fundraising at this point? The
Well,
initial
sure.
numbers were not very
No, I know.
impressive.
I'm very familiar. Of course we do. But, you know, I'll take them at their word, which is they didn't get started really until June. They didn't focus on it in May. And those are the main numbers you're talking about. But of course, yeah, he's got a long ways to go to make this on fundraising competitive.
And I saw a fundraising email that you sent out, and you said that there is at least a real possibility that not only could Republicans not win the White House, but could lose control of Congress. Do you really think that's a serious possibility?
I don't, but there is. I mean, I don't think it's a serious one, but I think it is a real one if there's a wave. And so we need to guard against a wave. We need to guard against a wave every time there's a presidential election. Congress, you have to remember, is up for grabs completely. Everyone in the House is up for re-election every other year, a third of the Senate. And so I think we need to guard against these things. We have a very strong majority in the House. I feel confident we're going to keep our majority, but I don't want to take anything for granted. I think you'd never take anything for granted. That's why we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're in a good position.
All right, time for another break. We'll be back in just a moment. And when we do come back, more with Speaker Paul Ryan. How is he liking this job? We're going to talk about that when Upfront continues.